Okay guys, so back on Dad's Camaro. Last time I believe we was working with the headers. Got those to fit, had to modify them. Happy with what we got there. Now we've got some more parts to install. These actually, I want to put these on before I bolt those headers on for good. So I know I got room to run all this stuff. What you're looking at is all the brake lines for the car. Right here, that's actually the transmission cooler lines. Those are not stainless, that is regular steel. All the brake lines here are all stainless. They come with the protective coil on them. And they're supposed to be all pre-bent. This box here, we've got stainless fuel line, 3/8. Again, supposed to be all pre-bent. And everything comes in boxes like this. And this is from inline tube. And one thing you're going to notice is there are tags on these lines. Right here, there's a tag here. A couple tags here. Now when they put these tags here, you're supposed to straighten this piece. And then you're gonna straighten this piece. They do that because they can ship them in a box like this, and the shipping is a lot cheaper than if they have them all straight and try to ship them like that. So first thing we got to do is we got to start getting these straightened out. It ain't too hard. I bought a couple sets of these from my other trucks, and it really ain't that hard to get the stuff bent back. But here's another one. Tag here, meaning this whole piece has got to be straightened out. We've got these coils pieces will go on the brake master cylinder. One of these goes to, I believe, the proportioning valve. We got a new one of those. More little lines. These are actually the proportioning valve lines, I believe. Also from inline tube, we got all the fittings. We've got bolts and retainers for all the lines. This is the brake line clip set. We've got the fuel line clip set with the fuel line. Also picked up a rear hose. Dad didn't have one, so we got a rear rubber hose. And the rear lines are somewhere here. Here, these are the rear lines, I think, that go on the rear axle. But anyway, that's what I'm going to try to do today. Is we're going to try to get these run in the car, because I'd like to finish off the headers and then finish off the exhaust system, so we can have that all done. So I'm going to get the car up in the air, and we're going to start routing these lines. Okay, so I'm going to start in the back here and work my way forward. I just installed the brake line, the rubber brake line. We've got the original bracket here. I think that's the original bracket that held this line. We got a different aluminum cover, but it seems to work out. I think it'll work out just like this. We got a bigger, longer bolt there. Anyway, it bolts there. Looks like we have something that must bolt up here to hold this. I'm not exactly sure. I'll figure it out once I get my line up there, I guess. But I'm going to come off of here, and I'm going to do my two lines that go to the rear drum brakes. We just got factory drum brakes on this for now. Eventually maybe we'll do a disc upgrade, but we're going to roll with what GM had originally right now. Okay, so I got these rear lines, and they're not tight. But I got that one run there. Dad had this up there, but it looks like that's not going to work like that. It's got to go down to this hole here. So I got that line run around. Everything looks okay there. When it was up here, this line here was too short. So I'm taking with this cutout in this bracket. This is where it goes, like this. Without having the bracket up here, I'm not exactly sure how this goes. I'll know more probably when I get that main line put in. But I'm going to get that out next, and we'll try to get that in place. Okay, so I have two more bigger lines here for the car. This one here with the coil, you know that goes to the master cylinder. So this is the front one. I'm guessing that goes on the subframe, the front subframe. And then we got this one here that's going to be a lot longer once I get all the bends straightened out. And I'm taking it that's going to be on the body of the car. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I straighten these lines up. Like I said, this bigger one here has got a lot of bends in it. It's got to be straightened. This one here wasn't so bad, but it wasn't very long. You can see there's a tag here and a tag here. And all you're doing is straightening this out. Now this, I could have done a better job straightening this out, but they kind of had this thing bent, all kind of wacky like. So it really doesn't matter, guys. These are lines. They're not perfect. I'm sure from the factory they weren't. So I'm gonna get this one rolled out, and we'll try to connect that with the rear line. Okay, so we're gonna start with this line here, and like I said, between the tags, you just straighten that out. And I'm just going to hold it here and straighten it out. I'm trying not to bend before the tag. You're just trying to bend between the tags. These longer, straighter bends are easier to work out than the shorter ones. But you're gonna have to tweak this line anyway, guys. I know it says pre-bent, but you're still gonna have to tweak it. That's just the nature of the beast. But at least with the pre-bent, you're close to where you need to be. Anybody that's ever tried to make their own line knows it's not the easiest thing to do. So I got a few more here, a few of these smaller ones I got to do, but this line it's almost straight. Okay, so I was able to get this line in. Still not exactly sure how it goes up there like that. Maybe Dad knows. We'll see, but I believe it goes down the frame rail like that. Like that. We got most of my clips on. Down around along the body there, and it was kind of fun getting around this lift arm. Had to kind of bend it and rebend it and reshape it, but it goes there, and I believe it goes up into this inner fender there, and there's a spot there for a clip. I can't do that right now with the fenders on, so I believe that's where it's got to be. When I pull these fenders off to paint, I can pull this inner fender off and we can put the clips on there. But I'm pretty sure that that's where that goes. Then it goes up to the master cylinder. We got to get the master cylinder in there to actually get everything fitted. But I'm sure, like I said, it's going to have to be tweaked to get the lines run. But pretty happy with these lines so far, guys. They're fitting pretty nice. So I'm going to go to the other side of the frame here, and we're going to get the fuel line run. So one thing I recommend if you do this kind of job, restoration or whatever, is buy the clip set, the line clip set. And it's just these factory clips that hold all the brake line, fuel line. They come with the new bolts and everything, so you ain't got to use rusty ones, or you ain't got to find. We don't even know where ours are at. I don't think. Dad probably bagged them up and they're somewhere, but don't exactly know where all these go. But basically I've used these type because that's what fits, so that's what I've been using. But I'm sure we'll figure out where these go. These probably go on the subframe for these other lines here, so I'm sure we'll eventually use them up. But I recommend a new set. We've also got a set for the fuel line, so these are supposed to be coated, I think, too, so they ain't gonna rust. Okay guys, so we got the rear fuel line in. This is stainless again. All the clips are in. Fasteners, factory fasteners. They're really working out nice, except for that one. I'm not sure if that's the right one or not, but that's the only one that would really fit there. I don't really like the way it's fitting on the line. I might get my own, or add some rubber to that. But I had to kind of tweak this end a little bit because it was hitting the trunk floor. But not bad, guys. I mean, it fit pretty well. You are gonna have to tweak these lines, like I said, but at least they're pretty darn close. So I'm gonna get the other one installed here. I'm guessing it's gonna jump onto this subframe and head to the motor. Okay guys, so I got that second part of the fuel line. They'll join up there. Like I said, it jumps on the subframe, goes down along there. It's a bit tricky with this lift arm in the way. I had to kind of bend it to get it in there, but it goes up there and along the frame. Had to take my header out, but you can see it goes along the frame, on top of the frame there. And then it comes out right there, and there's the fuel pump. So we'll have to run a rubber line in a few spots to join up with the fuel pump, and then join up the two lines right here. They must figure it moves too much to run a solid line, or when they joined it, they put all the lines on at the factory, so this was just easier for them. Anyway, it wasn't too bad of a job. Having those clips, new clips, really helped, guys. Highly recommend those if you're gonna do the job. But we need the master cylinder in there to do the rest of these lines. I guess there is no more fuel lines, there's just brake lines. Okay guys, so I gotta make some brake lines here because the kit I bought isn't working out. Anyway, I got my line that I just made up. You want to make sure you stick your little nut on there first before you start making your flare. You'd be surprised how many times you will forget and then you ruin your line you just made. So I'm going to put it in my tool. I got 3/16 line right here. And you're going to stick it in the tool. And a lot of these tools are different on what they do and everything. But usually there's a way to measure how high you want this line to stick up here. And on this particular tool, you take this, the tool that you stick inside the line while you're flaring it, That's how much you want to stick out. So you lock it in the tool, take your little adapter thing that keeps you from crushing your tube. Then you're going to crush her down. You're going to bottom it out. You unscrew it, pull out the deal that kept you from crushing the tube. Then you run this deal down. This is going to give you the flare. And voila, you got yourself a flare on a brake line. Kind of wiggle it out. And there you go, guys. You got yourself a flare. And I just made myself a brake line. Okay, so I got the bracket up there. And when I tried to install this rubber line, the end was different. I don't know if they sent me the wrong line or what, but that bracket up there is the original 1970 bracket. So I'm assuming they're either making them lines wrong or they sent me the wrong line. Whatever, I ground it down to make it the shape that the bracket is. So I was able to get that in and clip it on. Right here I had to make another hole down for the line because it looks like the line isn't made right. Maybe I don't have it routed right or whatever, but anyway, I made a new mount right there. Just self-tapping screwed it to that bottom piece right there. So in order to get this rubber line to actually fit up there, I had to move the line from that bolt there that I had it to this bolt here to be able to reach up there. Otherwise it wasn't going to reach. Well, in order to do that, I had to make my own lines because the driver's side line here was not long enough to go all the way up to there. The other line was long enough. But I didn't want a line, a copper nickel line over here, and then a stainless line over there with the loom around it. So I ended up just making my own lines for the rear. It's not bad. This making a line for the rear end is not that difficult. I mean, it does take a little time, and I don't have this time to do this, but in order to make this always work, that's what I had to do. And I really want to try to fire this thing up this weekend. But anyway, I routed them, I think, better. I like these lines better than the lines they sent me. I've got them routed away from the rear end cover. In case that cover ever has to come off, it's easy to get to all the bolts. And we can take it off and do whatever. Yeah, I routed it my way. And I'm happier with that. So these lines aren't stainless and they don't have that protective loom on them. But this copper nickel line is supposed to be just as good as the stainless. It's never supposed to corrode, so we should be fine with that. It doesn't have that protective little coil thing on it like these lines that I got with the kit. But I've never had a brake line get caught on anything or damaged or ripped or whatever. So not having this protective coil, I don't think it's going to make a difference. Okay, so final shot under here of the lines is I added some 3/8 rubber fuel line to connect the fuel tank to the first line, and then I used the same 3/8 fuel line to connect the rear line with the front line, or front subframe line, whatever you want to say. Just used the clamps that they sent in the kit. I guess that's what they used from the factory, those little clamp on, or those plier pinch clamps. And I mean, I guess they work. So we'll run those, I guess. Dad was thinking about upgrading the clamps, but you know, them work, so we might as well just use them. So I believe the lines are all buttoned up under here. Okay, so we're starting to mock up the rest of the braking system so we can figure out all these lines. There's the line, brake line that goes to the rear brakes, that goes between the inner fender and the body of the car. We've got a new booster. That's a 9-inch booster. The factory one is 11. Got that from, actually got this whole booster assembly from National Parts Depot. The 9-inch booster gives us a little bit more room in the engine bay here. And it's supposed to work well with the disc drum combination that we've got. Also picked up a new master cylinder. This, like I said, was a kit combo deal. So we've got that in place. The booster is a bit different on the back side, where it actually goes to the brake pedal, so we're going to have to do some modification there, because it is not a factory 70 Camaro deal. It's just got a threaded rod on it. Also, we're going to have to make that brake line work somehow, because we've got a new proportioning valve for this, and it's a bit different than the factory deal. So here's your factory 70 Camaro, 11-inch booster, master cylinder. You got your proportioning valve there. And then they also call this a metering valve right here. When you get a replacement, it's all one piece. It's not separated like they did back in 70. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get all these lines run. The kit we bought, the line kit, has all these lines here because it's for a factory 70 Camaro. So we really could reuse the old stuff there, but I just don't really want to do that. So we did pick up a new one. Unfortunately, we're going to have to change the lines because, like I said, there's two pieces to this system and there's only one piece now. I think we can make some of the lines work, but we'll figure that out. I'll show you what we do, because it's probably going to take a little while to figure it out. Here's the back side of the booster. This is a factory Camaro setup, and on the booster we got, there's a threaded rod, so somehow we're going to have to get this end on that piece. I'll show you that when we do that. But yeah, we've got some upgrades and some modifications to do, so we're going to get to it. Okay, so working away here. I actually got all these lines that came with the kit to work with this new proportioning valve. Just had to kind of tweak and bend them a little differently. But I got the two front lines coming out here. These got the little coil thing. I was able to use this line right here that came with the kit. That goes to the rear brakes. Just put a union right here. Took this line, kind of bent it downward here. Might have to do a little more tweaking to get some clearance for the wiring loom there. But it looks good. This line came with the kit. It's the bigger line. Goes from the master cylinder to the back of the proportioning valve. And I think I got all the lines run right, according to the sizes and what I remember from my old Chevy trucks. I think I got everything right. We got to make one line here, 1/2 inch, goes from here to the proportioning valve. Shouldn't be too bad. We don't have any 1/2 inch nuts to make anything, so have to make something. Shouldn't be too bad, just a little S shape there. Should be able to bend one up pretty easily. But it's looking good. This line here runs down along the subframe there. Comes out right here, goes to the other side of the front brakes. And that's actually where those blue clips went. Apparently blue means the subframe brake line clip. So anyway, I like it. Going to probably make a little bracket to support this proportioning valve. It'll bolt to one of these holes here and then go back there. This valve is pretty heavy. I mean, all these lines I think would support it once they're tight, but I don't really want it shaking and vibrating, so I'm gonna make a bracket and we'll get that so she don't move. But anyway, real happy with how this came out. Had to remove the steering shaft to get this brake line underneath it because it runs under the steering shaft. Also, we have a new steering coupler, new rag joint, whatever you want to call it, for the car. Figured the old one was probably pretty old, so we got a new one. They weren't very much, National Parts Depot. Getting quite a few parts from them, and so far I'm liking it. So we're going to continue to order from them, I think. I got to get my shaft back in. I pulled this out to do the brake lines, so that's going to go back in. Okay, so one other issue we've run into with this proportioning valve is this plug-in right here for the brake light. It's different on the 70 Camaro. This is like I think like a newer style or something. I know it looks like the same style as the pickups, 70s and 80s pickups that I had. So we're gonna have to get a new plug. I think you can order them online pretty easily. So we'll have to cut the old plug out, swap it with a new plug like this, because the old one just ain't gonna work. Okay, so here's what I've come up with the brake line situation and the proportioning valve. I kind of moved the proportioning valve up a little higher. I took an original bracket that was on the old setup and I used that. I cut it off down there, made a mount to bolt this on. So this proportioning valve was bolted onto a mount. You can see it right there. Got all my lines situated. I believe it's going to be fun tightening all them up when that comes time to do that. And also I got to bench bleed this thing. I got it nice and painted, and hopefully we can do that without wrecking everything. I had to make a line right here for this one. I was able to use this back one here, kind of bend it and twist it. But everything I believe is where it's going to be. The only thing we don't have run is the rubber lines for the front calipers. But that's, you know, we know where they go. Okay, so the booster is installed for good. It ain't coming off. Everything's tight. Had to cut the rod off the original booster, and I had to weld it on the rod or the threaded deal that they gave in the booster kit to be able to connect this booster to the 70 brake pedal. They do offer a kit. It's like $60 I think, and it's got all the ends. But yeah, for $60 it's ridiculous. We bought this for a 70 Camaro. It should have came with the 70 ends, but whatever. Like I said, I cut the one off, welded it on the rod. So I've got a little bit of adjustment. I measured it. Should be right on what the other one was. We have a little bit of adjustability, but I think it's going to be right on. Just got to go in there and connect it to the brake pedal, and we'll be good to go. So that's what we got. I think it looks okay. Kind of a mess of brake lines, but what do? You need brakes. But anyway, guys, I guess that's going to do it for this one on the brake and fuel lines. I'll see you in the next one.